Hey there, Messiah University. Thank you so much for checking out Yellow Breeches Television for coverage of the SGA presidential debate. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we do regret to inform you that we weren't able to capture the video of the debate, but we do have the audio intact. I could explain it to you. It's a bunch of technical lingo you might not understand or really care, but I still really encourage you to check out the audio and listen to it so you can hear about the candidates, their plans for Messiah, and the visions they have for their campaigns as you prepare to participate in the election. So again, we apologize for the inconvenience, but check it out.
Is this on? Oh, it is on. Okay. Whoa, sorry, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the annual presidential debate for the 2023-2024 school year. If there's anyone out there who doesn't know me yet, I'm sorry, that's probably my bad. But hi, everyone. My name is Pauline Dutcha. I'm the current student body president, and I'm very excited to enter in this debate night. Get ready, send in your questions. It's time for us to really put these two candidate pairs in the hot seat. So, get us started. I'm going to open us up in prayer, and then I'll invite Director of the Pulse, Emily Russ, to come up and moderate the rest of the night. All right, so if we'll all bow our heads. Dear God, thank you for bringing us all here tonight safely. I pray for these candidates as they enter into the space of conversation, that they can answer with grace and that all of their nervousness will leave them at this moment. I pray that they can speak truthfully, communicate the intentions of their platform, and be confident in their answers. I pray for the students here tonight, that they can ask thoughtful and insightful questions with love and care. Lord, we pray this over the whole process, that your hand will guide us and your will be done over this election. Thank you again, Lord, for getting us all here together. In your Son's name we pray, amen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, hi, my name is Emily Rush. So great to be with you today. As Pauline just mentioned, and thank you for that wonderful prayer, I will be moderating this debate. Thank you to see some familiar faces out there, some faces I've never seen. That's great. This is your time. There will be a phase later on in this event for you to ask questions. So, I say keep them coming. Okay. Okay, yeah, great, really great. So, as I've just introduced myself, I will let the candidate pairs introduce themselves as well. So first, we will be going to my left. Please introduce yourself, starting with the presidential-elect.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Moises, and I just want to thank you all for coming here. Also, I need to give a quick shout out to my parents who are watching live on the YouTube channel. Mom, please breathe. Dad, remind my mom to breathe. And Mom, don't scream at my dad when he reminds you to breathe, please. Yeah, I'm excited for this, and I'm looking forward to just having a good conversation tonight.
Yeah, great.
Hi, my name is Ashley Glazer, and I'm currently running for VP. And thank you again for all being here this week. I know this is a really stressful week, so thank you for taking the time.
Great, thank you. And over to my right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mirelis Bermudez. I am currently running for the student body president, and I'm so excited to have everybody here. It's really been a crazy, fast 2 weeks. But I also have to thank somebody, special somebodies in the crowd. I have my family here tonight, and I just want to thank you guys for always supporting me, and Pauline for always involving me. And so much. She's one of the reasons why I'm running tonight. And I just want to thank everybody who's taken time out of the schedule to be here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Mitchell, and I am running for I'm running for student body vice president. I'm so excited to be able to be before you guys today and have the privilege to just speak about not only our platform, but our desire to continue to build our community, and I think that is at the heart of all of us when at the end of it. Thank you so much.
Well, we're off to a great start, and For everyone in the audience and also online over here, we're going to have our questions up, and it will tell you what phase of the debate night that we are in. Phase 1 is the conversation phase. No, yeah. Phase 1 is get to know the candidates, their platforms, and the mission of their campaign. And so we're going to jump right into that. Here we go. This question, if a question is addressed to a certain individual, I will say their name beforehand. Some questions may be addressed to presidents or to specifically vice presidents. I will also make that aware as well. For this section, you have 2-minute answers. And remember, there's our table up front to keep you on time. And I may cut you off if you're running way too long. Thank you. Okay, please don't clap for me, but thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll try my best. Okay, question number 1, how to everyone. And if you would like to go, just have someone in your team raise your hand. Question number 1, how will your faith influence your leadership of the student body? Go ahead.
I believe our faith is the foundation in which we lead and continue to be student leaders on campus. I believe as individuals and then as an elected pair, we desire to keep Christ preeminent not only in our election campaigning and potential presidential election, but at ourselves as individuals and making sure that we are keeping him first in every interaction and talk, and that we reduce and he would increase. So he is at the heart and the center of everything.
But I think more than that, when we look at our leadership style, we incorporate a lot of elements of what it looks like to be a disciple of Christ. So whether that's patience, whether that's love, and whether that is getting to know you on a daily basis. I think when I look at our leadership, we don't necessarily want to put at forefront that you're a student leader. We care that you're a person, we care that you're a student here at Messiah, and we want to know you on a one-to-one basis, just like Jesus did with his disciples. So incorporating not only the Christ preeminent, but seeing you as a person and having intentionality to be used as a vessel to do his will on this campus.
Wonderful, and now I'll throw it over to our other team as well.
Yeah, I believe that especially like at Messiah being Christ-centered, our leadership would be at the center of Christ, like faithfully served. Another theme of our campaign is devotion, and that would be devoted to as a student body, devoted to SGA, but most importantly devoted to Christ. And our leadership would be through Christ and faithfully served. And this idea of devotion we found in Romans 12:9-13, which we promoted in our campaign. And the idea of everything being with like Christ at the center and devotion through Christ, through our leadership and everything. So that's something that was really important to us, and humbly serving at the center of God.
Yeah, and this is something that I talked about in my application. And the first thing I have to realize is that I will be serving individuals who are both Christian, non-Christian, who find themselves in different parts, in different journey in life. But I think even in that, when reflecting on what effective leadership looks like, I immediately pointed back to Jesus Christ and the example that he set for us. And because of that, because I want to be an effective leader, and although I will never be at the level that Jesus was, I am striving to be like him and lead in the same effective way that he did. Because of that, I believe that my faith will play a tremendous role and impact in the way that I lead. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much from both of our pairs. Question 1, off to the races. Okay, let's take a pivot to question 2. Question 2, what steps will you take to engage students who are facing personal or academic challenges that prevent them from participating in campus activities?
The first thing that I think about when we're taking steps, whether that's academic or club life, is being able to first listen. I don't think enough of us as student leaders take the time to stop and listen to the person's needs. Sometimes we make the assumption of what they need and then try to rectify the problem. So whether that means that I have to sit down and talk to you once again on that one-to-one basis, or do a group setting where I have to listen to what the club needs, what the student needs, and then step in forward that way. But another issue that we're facing on campus is disengagement due to a lack of communication or miscommunication. So the information that's being delegated to you, whether it's through a mass email or through a group meet, is not effective. So that means that we have to stop and think about what does it mean to have effective communication and get that to you in a responsive time, because that will alleviate that issue of engagement. And so we have thought about having a third-party website, and this website will kind of function as a centralized location to have students know what's going on campus, academic resources, and different things like that. Would you like to add?
Along with that, I think we have placed ourselves in a position that, that is looking out into the not only individuals or student leaders or people who are in higher power on campus, but also individuals who are just like you, just like the average student, and seeking to not only grow in your faith and your intellect, but then also your community, and building not only a Messiah that represents one person or one leader, but all of us together.
Great, and this team.
Could you restate the question before I begin?
Sure, absolutely. What steps will you take to engage students who are facing personal or academic challenges that prevent them from participating in campus activities?
For sure. I think one thing that we're definitely pushing in terms of accessibility and reach the student body in terms of these resources, and more so become aware of this. And one thing we're pushing for is a Canvas page, and we've already started this conversation with information technology services. And this idea of Canvas is that not only is this accessible on your computer, but also your phone, and so it's also an app, and it would have resources displayed that are like general, like it could be about SGA. We hope to make Student Senate minutes public, things like that, but also hyperlinks and quick links to things on campus that are like directly accessible, so that you don't have to like student search through Falcon Link. But this idea of accessibility is personal, because it can lead to personal links like safety and res life, but also academic, because this is something that would display right next to your classes and not solely if you're in a club or organization.
Yeah, and I think Mirelis made a beautiful point, and it's the idea of being a listening ear. I think first and foremost, with these roles, we are a friend, and I think in order to help, we have to listen as well. So, for example, the Canvas page is one way that we have heard some individuals that they would like to be helped, but even in that, we want to meet every individual where they are at in order to best serve them. So I think that's something that we want to approach, and it's just the idea that we don't know every answer, but that's why we're here. It's to talk about it and listen.
Wonderful. Okay, on to question number 3. Describe the difference between a good leader and a great leader.
Yeah, so when reflecting on what being a true and effective and a good leader is, I think a good leader is one who leads by example and who gets the job done. But I think an effective leader is one who works with what he is given, and that is his SGA cabinet, and he instructs them to the point where they are not dependent on him to lead them. So I think a good and excellent leader equips the people around him with the resources and the understanding necessary to get the job done without dependency.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you passed it off. I agreed, and expanding off of that with connecting with everyone around you, the difference between like a good and a great leader. I think good would be like performing to what is kind of expected, being that role model, being that example with the given environment. A great leader would be kind of, as Moises mentioned, taking the environment you're given and working with it, but also, most importantly, empowering everyone around you within those circumstances. And I think that aspect of connection and empowerment is really important, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. And with this would be like SGA and making sure that everyone is connected and supported.
I think great leaders see greatness in the people around them. And great leaders seek to not only empower and encourage and be a representative for the student body, for the environments that they're in. Know that you are leaders right where you are because you see and seek to challenge and to explore different heights that not only allows you to grow, but also the people around you to grow. So a great leader sees out and not just in.
And to add to that, you have this difference of a great leader knowing that regardless of winning or losing, it's not losing, it's learning. So when you're investigating these things, when you're researching, when you're having these conversations, somebody may tell you no, and you're gonna take that as a loss. But rather than sitting in that negativity of no, this idea, this aspiration I have is a no, take that and learn from it. Have a different conversation, have a different frame, have that growth mindset. A great leader learns from their mistakes and rectifies it and continues to grow in relationship in that way. So it's the difference of knowing, yeah, I lost, but now I'm gonna learn from it, and a win is the same way.
This question is directed specifically towards presidents. So question number 4. As the student body president, you will encounter new challenges, new people, and new experiences. In which areas do you hope to grow because of this experience?
For me, I believe that this is going to be an area of growth and interpersonal relationships, and I've gotten to know people on one-on-one basis. However, it's been a year of learning how to interact with people, even though I'm an introvert. It's this idea of standing in front of all of you, I'm struggling. And that is a state of vulnerability that not everybody can come to agreement in. So while being president, I am going to challenge myself. Mirelis, what does it mean to approach a person, a stranger, because we all get this, we get that anxiety, this person doesn't know me, they're gonna take one look and they're gonna make that 30-second judgment. But pushing through that 30-second judgment and saying, hello, my name's Mirelis, I'm your student body president, how can I serve you? It's that attitude change of servitude. And in this next year, I hope to grow in both my vulnerability and being able to approach people, but also to care about you on a one-on-one basis, and to not let that fear of meeting an individual, because I'm a natural introvert, confine me, and it doesn't allow me to meet other people that I'd never have the opportunity. Messiah is a campus full of different people from all sorts of walks of life. And I want to take that opportunity to meet every single one of you, regardless if that's over coffee, whether that's in a classroom, whether that's even passing by on a walk, And I think that's what it's going to mean for me being president, especially in that area of growth.
And could you repeat the question, please?
Sure, absolutely. As the student body president, you will encounter new challenges, new people, and new experiences. In which areas do you hope to grow because of it?
I think this is a question that I've honestly been asking myself as I've embarked on this journey. And when reflecting on even my experience last year as an RA, the person that individuals would come to with a question and such. And a lot of the time, at first, I immediately wanted to go in and solve the issue, but I realized I first have to humble myself and realize that everybody's situation is different because everybody is different. So I think in regards to that, I think just remembering I want to learn, and I'm currently in that journey, but I'm far from where I want to be. But it's just that state of taking a step back, listening, and learning where I can serve that individual specifically. I think as through this role in SGA, but even as a whole in general, I feel like that is something that is needed. I feel like a lot of times we're too quick to jump to the gun, and I will admit I'm one of the first people. So I think with that in mind, that is an area where I want to focus on.
Wonderful, thank you. Another question directed again just at our president. What is one thing you wish more students knew about SGA?
I would say I wish students knew about SGA in general. Even like working with the cabinet this year, we've run into the same struggle of, man, how can we can we let students know? And we've seen that this is a constant struggle. So I think with that in mind, I think our ideal goal for all of us up here is just to make sure that SGA is well known and everybody is aware that it's a resource and a voice to empower you and to serve you in any possible way that you might need it during that moment.
Something I would want everybody to know is that SGA is not this, it's not a club that's a niche. It's for everybody, and it doesn't matter the way that you talk, it doesn't matter the way that you dress, it doesn't matter the way that you approach leadership. I think there's a misconception that SGA is this like executive club that's above everybody else, floating on an island. Not at all. I think that we're in the central group, in the mix of everything, accepting and willing to have anybody in SGA. Currently, we have senator applications waived. All you have to do is have a conversation with me. Why? Because I believe that every voice should be heard in Senate, and I think that your opinion matters. I think SGA is coming to a point in time where we're making adjustments so that everybody knows that you're allowed to have a voice on this campus, that you're allowed to walk in the room and have power and authority and a sense of privilege. It doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter the language. I could care less about those things. I care about what you're gonna bring to the table and how you're gonna help Messiah.
Wonderful, thank you. Again, for Just Our Presidents, how will you work with your cabinet to best accomplish the goals that you have laid out for the coming year?
Okay, I'm gonna take this question first. In the beginning of the semester, we had an unprecedented situation, and I was able to serve both as president and vice president. And during around those 4 months, I got to see what it would look like to have cabinets work together, specifically our cabinet members. Now, SGA is structured in a sphere, and it can seem isolated, like isolated silos. But it's your job as president to come together as one and see how those silos can create one vision. And you're SGA because you have this ability to vision cast for a whole student body. Now, that means that you have to learn how to navigate everybody's communication style, because everybody expresses ideas differently, everybody works differently. So that means that you have to learn your cabinet, you have to learn the way that they think, the way that they're gonna approach an obstacle, the way that they're gonna talk to you. So that means that you have to be intentional in the way that you set up one-on-one meetings and cabinet meetings. Now, if you as a collective whole have the same vision for what you're gonna have for Messiah, then you can work together and accomplish that goal. However, if you're all thinking that you're working in these positions separately, and that because they're all kind of different and separated job descriptions, you're not gonna work together very well. And what I learned during those 4 months is everybody has a different love language. Get the time to know what your cabinet love language is. Encourage them. You know, words of affirmations are important. If you can have a motivated cabinet and they know what you guys as a whole want to accomplish, then you're gonna get it done. However, you need to take the time to know your cabinet, not only in a professional setting, but as a family, because that's what you're spending hours and hours together. Get to know them, because they're gonna get the work done for you.
Mirelis mentioned the word family, and I don't think I could agree more with that. I myself am a very family-oriented person. I love my family, and I am nothing without them. And when thinking and talking with Ashley, one of the things that we want to bring to we believe that in order to work together, we need to get to know each other, and in order to achieve great things, we need to come from a humble place of knowing that we're serving each other as well as we're serving the rest of the community. So with that in mind, that's one of the biggest things that we want to achieve with our cabinet. It's that sense of belonging, that sense of knowing that your voice is going to be heard, because we realize that if it starts here, it's going to trickle down to every different part of campus that we get the privilege of serving as well.
Thank you. Switching gears a little bit and talking directly to our vice presidents. The student body vice president chairs and oversees the student senate, at which Messiah's chartered and executive clubs meet to make decisions throughout the semester. What is your vision for Senate, and what changes do you want to bring if you are elected?
So currently, I have the opportunity of being the vice president of organizations, which I get the honor of working directly with our executive, charter, and recognized clubs. This means I've already started to build a relationship with not only them as club presidents, vice presidents, members, but then as individuals. And then I also have the beauty of knowing them as students, knowing them as individuals who seek to be great leaders. So I think for Senate specifically, I would love to see that family mindset that we're saying true to in our cabinet flow right into how we even manage and discuss issues, concerns in Student Senate. I believe that Student Senate should represent our students, and that means not only choosing and picking individuals from your respective clubs and organizations to represent your student body, but also understanding that the vice president has control and honor to lead and mediate the Student Senate. So I think communication will be at the heart of how Student Senate not only continues to build, but then advances beyond what we even see it as now, and continues to encourage students to want to be a part of this. Be a student center, be a part of your student clubs, and be a president, because you can do it. I think Student Senate can allow individuals to rise to the occasion. And as we rise to the occasion, we get to see anew in not only us as individuals, but us as a whole.
I agree, Gabby. I think that the aspect of open communication and everything is very wise involving Senate. And I think attending Senate and seeing the structure and the formality and everything and how detrimental it is to campus, I think something that I would stress within a vision is transparency. I think transparency is so important within the student body and SGA as a whole, down to with our ideas of reconnection and everything. Within transparency, with those in mind, like the idea of more accessibility to like student Senate minutes and everything, and as well as transparency with like the open communication you mentioned. I agree that is very important, and including like more opportunities for feedback and conversation, and if that includes bringing someone into like an extended forum that maybe something that is extremely like needed for like advocacy or something on this campus, and also stressing how extended forum is open to the public, because I think there's a very much lack of awareness on Messiah's campus, because until I was involved in leadership to be able to attend Senate, I was personally not aware, and I think that's a great resource for students. So I think my vision would be transparency and just that open communication aspect, and stressing to students what all there is to be involved in Senate, as well as awareness of what actually happens.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Our next question is again directed to our VPs. This job is a partnership. You will work together. This is why you are presented together on our stage tonight. But specifically, what skills do you plan to use to support your running mate?
In terms of skills too that would support me and my SES as we run together, with aspects of like reconnection and togetherness and family in mind, we were friends first, and we've worked together in professional settings as well as personal settings. And I think with that aspect of family and reconnection and bringing everyone back together, we know each other personally as well as professionally and can work together as a team. So that aspect of the SGA cabinet being a family and expressing aspects of reconnection on this campus, and as you mentioned earlier, having the SGA cabinet kind of have that familial aspect and empowering each other, that would start with us, and hopefully we would lead that aspect, and then it would trickle down, as you mentioned. And so with this aspect, we would support each other as we know kind of our like work ethics and everything together, and as you mentioned, like love languages, so with that aspect. And I think that would be a really supportive role with the aspect of togetherness, that we know and understand each other, but can also empower each other professionally.
Ashley brought up a key point, and I will repeat it again, that family and being able to connect as leaders, as individuals first, is at the heart of how we even grow together as a unit. The vice president gets to sit next to the president and support and continue to vision cast and encourage not only the cabinet, but then the president as an individual. We are a chamber in ourselves sometimes. And specifically being able to sit on the SGA cabinet now, I get to see how that works between Pauline and Marilise, and how not only as delegators of work and responsibilities, but also as individuals who seek to see you as an individual and seek to honor that you have your own emotions, abilities, student leadership responsibilities that may even mess mess up or coincide with even your school schedule. So I think that is a part of something that we as individuals see a value in. And then as I bring that into student body vice president, I see how organization and clear communication between the both of us will help fuel and be continued transparent with our cabinet altogether. Upon that, I think that lays a foundation for us to not only continue to stand with our campaign, but then grow in leadership and growth mindset. I think being leaders on campus means you constantly are looking out for and seeing areas of growth, areas of that are challenging, but also areas to rejoice. That we can approach every situation seeing and viewing not only the bad, but also the good. And that we would encourage each other to see how we continue to advance and continue to grow as a unit together.
Thank you, thank you. As we are bouncing back and forth here, this next section of questions is part of phase one, but we're gonna focus on one team at a time for a while, get to know them individually, get to know their backgrounds, and also get to know more about their platform and their vision for 2023-2024. So I'm going to start over here with Ramirez Gomez Glazer, and your first question is specifically for Moises. Student safety is an agenda item in your application. Messiah University is already well known for being a safe campus. What specific areas of student life do you believe need to be addressed to create a safer campus environment?
Yeah, I agree that I believe that the campus is safe. But then it was through conversation with my fellow peers and friends that I realized maybe it wasn't as safe as I thought it was. And it's because I first had to address the fact that I am a male and I don't have to worry about certain things that some of my female friends have to. In regards to that, our desire is to work with the student body and with every individual who feels as though there are areas around campus that aren't safe. One of the things that we want to do, and that we already started working with safety about actually, besides getting to know the many resources that they provide, is also the idea of like finding out what areas on campus, specific areas on campus, individuals don't feel safe walking late at night, and working to possibly provide better lighting and such like that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Another question for Moises, another agenda, change in visitation hours for first year and transfer students. This is an example of an institutional policy which SGA can only recommend changes for. Why do you see a need for this change?
Yeah, this is a policy that SJ can only recommend. I found out that last week we actually met with the Res Life director, and she informed us regarding this. So in regards to why we want to see this change, well, it again started through conversation with some of our friends, and they specifically, I won't mention names because I didn't ask them for permission, but they were transfer students who were put into first-year buildings and felt it wasn't fair that they didn't have visitation, but other transfer students who were put in Mountain View then did have visitation. So it was just that idea of like making sure we're treating everybody equally. Then with that, with our idea of reconnecting each other, reconnecting ourselves to one another is the idea of those face-to-face conversations. And although visitation, first years not having visitation on Mondays was done with the intent of helping them, our question was just, did we ever ask the first years if this is something that they wanted? And through that, we then realized that us keeping them from having those face-to-face conversations with their fellow peers on a Monday, it could be more detrimental than helpful.
Wonderful, thank you. Pivoting over to your lovely running mate, Ashley. Ashley, you brought up the idea of an SGA Canvas page, both in your application and earlier tonight. How might this accomplish your goal of increasing SGA promotion better than Messiah's current webpage?
For sure. I think that Canvas is accessible not only on your phone and your computer, but also there's announcements which can link to your email. Obviously, Messiah SGA promotes through like Instagram, emails, and other forms of communication, which are great, but there's obviously other areas that can be used to help reconnect and engage, and using Canvas as another resource, which is right next to all of your academic classes and platforms. That's another way to help remind you of things, and also an opportunity for us to connect with you and you to directly connect with us, whether it's like emailing that email that would be connected to the Canvas page, and having that be a direct resource if you didn't want to email through your Outlook. But even so, the Canvas is a resource to help gain awareness and in the sorts of the accessibility and having that direct platform.
Wonderful. Back to Ashley. Ashley, you are currently the president of the marketing club. What are some transferable skills that you gained in that role that will inform your work as the student body vice president?
Yeah, I am the president of the marketing club, and I definitely think that management and strategy and communication. So if this I guess a small plug. So the marketing club, we work with local nonprofits, and one is global and one is local, and we help them with their marketing strategies and reanalyzing them for donor outreach and just their social media platforms. And so with that, it's a lot of communication and strategizing, and I believe that my role, if we were to win this election with student body vice president, the idea of communication and I am the gap between the students who help work with the nonprofits and the actual nonprofits that we help serve, as well as coordinating between our advisor and certain SGA requirements. So being that, bridging that gap between the club right now, I would help bridge that gap in SGA. So that's a privilege that I have with that experience right now, and I believe that those are transferable skills.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Going back to Moises. Moises, you served as an RA and had the opportunity to walk with the students on your floor throughout their day-to-day lives. Reflecting on this experience, what changes would you like to make to on-campus culture that would alleviate some of the problems that students struggle with?
That's a very good question, and Ashley and I actually had a similar conversation with the Peace Safety Director, and it's just that idea of specifically with the idea of an RA, and I served in that role, and we're often known as the people who enforce the rules. But what people don't know is all the training that goes behind it. The thing that is at the first point that they make is that we are here to both advocate, but also be a friend and serve. So I think in regards to that, again, with the idea of better communication, and just realize that although we are here to serve you, and that means holding you accountable to what is required of you, we are also here to listen to you, to meet you where you are at. And although we will not be able to meet your specific need, we might be the bridge that can help you, guide you to the person or individual who can.
Wonderful, thank you. Too far, because it's once again a question for Moises. You are currently SGA's Vice President of Diversity Affairs. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do in that position and how that experience has affected your campaign?
I would just like to say, Caitlin, I don't know if she's in the room right now, but she actually served during this role this past semester, and she graduated a semester early. And she did such an amazing job. She made it so difficult for me to meet the measures, and what she did amazing. But through this role, I serve as simply a friend and an advocate. A lot of my role consists of me just taking a step back and having conversations with individuals who feel as though their needs are not being met. So I think with that, again, it goes back to my journey that I'm currently going through, and it's just listening to individuals and finding out how I can better serve them. And I believe through, as I continue my time here, both at Messiah, possibly through this role of SGA president, or even just as a student in general, I believe that those are skills that I know will be beneficial for me.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm saying that a lot. I should come up with a new phrase. Now, for both of you, your campaign focuses heavily on the value of compassion. What will you do when confronted with a student who feels strongly about a proposed idea or change that you personally do not agree with?
With that aspect in mind, with especially with the theme of compassion, I think that's a really good word to describe our campaign. If someone came to us with an idea that we may not necessarily agree with, first of all, emphasizing the fact that SGA is a voice for the student body, so we would hope that there would be advocacy for change or for something to be heard out on. And also, it is not our place to necessarily agree with you or judge a proposal or something that you hope to see change. It's our mission to empower you and help direct you to those resources and help uplift you within your advocacy. And that doesn't necessarily mean us agreeing with you. Obviously, I would hope that we would, see that on the same page and everything, but if we weren't, then that would be us directing you to those resources, empowering you to talk to the right people and helping you within finding that, those resources for the correct proposal you are foreseeing.
Yeah, and I think going off of that, and I think Ashley worded it so beautifully, I think it's just the idea of being devoted to each other in love. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be us two. We can't change anything by ourselves because it takes the whole student body, the whole Senate to partake in that. So even if it's something that we personally don't agree in, I think it's important to realize that we also have very specific perspectives because we have a specific upbringing. We all have biases. So I think it's important to bring it up to the table, and that's what Student Senate is for, to get different perspectives so that those biases that we might personally have can be broken down. So at the end of the day, our role is to serve you, empower you, and if this is something that you feel passionately about, let's bring it to the rest of the Senate, and let's see if we can pass it.
Great. That was really great. Great work, everybody. I lost my... No, I didn't. This is the last question for Ramirez Gomez Glazer. For both of you. In the conversation of increasing student engagement, the main focus normally drifts to first-year and second-year students and their needs as new community members. What steps will you take to purposefully engage junior and senior students who are often pushed to the sidelines? Sure. In the conversation of increasing student engagement, the main focus normally drifts towards first-year and second-year students and their needs as new community members. What steps will you take to purposefully engage junior and senior students who are often pushed to the sidelines?
Yeah, for sure. I think the reason why we stress so much the idea of first years is because juniors and seniors are already, they've been here, they know what it's like for first years. It's a new home for them. So because of that, we wanted to make sure that they are welcomed here, and we wanted to make sure that they have that friendly face that they can always see around campus. Now, in regards to juniors and seniors, our goal is to work with everybody here. So with that, our desire is to partner with different clubs. And as a junior myself, I know what it was like to come in during the COVID year. It wasn't fun. And although we have seen growth since then, we're still in that journey of growth. So our idea is to meet again and just partake in that, however that may look, and serve juniors, seniors, first year, sophomores, anybody. We're a family here, and our desire is to serve each other.
Agreed, and I think going off of that, the ideas of we are stressing aspects of becoming you and first year visitation policies, but that's the idea that when you first come into Messiah, we want you to be aware of all that it has to offer so that when you are a sophomore, a junior, a senior, etc., that you know exactly what there is on this campus, the resources, where to go to, where to help someone else go to, and it's the aspect that when you are first welcomed here that you know the resources available to you. And with our ideas of engagement in mind, it's not directed necessarily to a specific class, it's engaging the whole community, but some of the residence life conversations we've had have been directed towards first years in terms of as you are being welcomed in, that is a community you're surrounded by, and to uplift you and understand all the community aspects of Messiah. But with our terms of engagement and reconnection, this is stressed to the whole student body and not specified to any class.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Please give Moises and Ashley a big hand as we will be returning to them after asking these guys some questions. Great work. Okay, heading over to Team Bermudez Mitchell. Your campaign slogan is Arise, Messiah, meaning accessibility, restoration, innovation, sustainability, and engagement. Can you please expand on your slogan and list some related action items or beliefs?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to expand the length of it in 2 minutes, but I'm going to condense it as much as I can right now. So we're looking at 5 letters to be able to tackle different areas on campus. Accessibility means both in the physical sense, so our students with physical disabilities, shout out to Faith and Juliana, I know you're listening right now, and as well as accessibility to administration and SGA in general. That's that sense of pushing out the knowledge that SGA exists. As for restoration, we're thinking about how we're going to restore not only the relationships that not that they've died, but they just haven't been revived due to post-COVID. There are things that used to be traditional here at Messiah, but due to changes both in years, but as well as how we transitioned out of COVID, they have died off. And I believe that bringing them back is important to Messiah culture, being able to revive it. As for the rest of the letters, because I don't want to spend too much time, sneak peek, but all of these letters combined are associated with achievable goals. So one that I'm really passionate about is having legal counsel on campus for our international students. This is specifically for post-grad opportunities. When you graduate, you are kind of left in this gray area where you have to navigate the situation of, if I want to stay in the States, how do I do it? And like other schools that we've benchmarked across, Penn State is one that has this service for the students. However, other programs such as like a textbook scholarship and the website of the Falcon Link for clubs is another kind of action plans, action materials to achieve those goals. So essentially, we want to arise with you to any occasion.
Wonderful, thank you. Specifically for Gabrielle, you are currently SGA's Vice President of Organizations. How has that experience and what you've learned affected your campaign?
Becoming the Vice President of Organizations, I think, was the beginning of not only our road of figuring out how we wanted to run, or even if this was something possible for a first year to do, but allowed me to break down the barrier and the misconception that first years cannot serve on leadership. I think that is the first thing that I have learned and I've embraced being here and encouraging my friends and my fellow peers to continue to grow. Specifically for the Vice President of Organization role, I've had the privilege of connecting with individuals that I don't think I ever would have on this level. Specifically, even the people on our cabinet, I have been open to another realm of people who I can not only network with, but connect on an individual level. Being organization leader and manager in that sense has allowed me to have a broad understanding not only of what our students need and how services and clubs and opportunities are there already. So continue to encourage and empower our students to engage with them is a big part of my position. And I think as the vice president, that is a big part of your role, not only as an advocate and representative for the student body, but then as a mouth speaker alongside the president to continue to voice the concerns and be honest with the student body as you're seeking honesty from administration and in that relationship.
Mirali, for this year, 2022-2023, which of your accomplishments in this role are you most proud of?
First, I'd want to acknowledge my cabinet and everything that we've overcome. It's been a year of change, and not to say that obstacles are a bad thing, but once you've hit with so many, you have to learn how to cope with not only the stress of being a student who's taking 18 credits, but also being a leader in an executive club. One thing that I feel that is the area of growth that I felt was most impactful in Senate was our professional developments, and this is specifically for our primary forum. It's something that I wanted to do based off of our theme of reconciliation, and I think it was the most impactful. The inner teacher in me was really proud to have little worksheets that I distribute every Monday that allows my senators to reflect on the speakers. So I've had speakers like Dr. Allen, Dr. Lane, who essentially spoke about different topics of reconciliation, whether it was personal, with God, with campus, with finances. And I'm so first happy that administration was able to come and talk to our primary forum, but to have senators that were intentional with their writing, because I collect all their papers and I reflect and I say, how can I make it better for the next professional development? And that's what I feel I'm most proud of.
Thank you. Again, don't put that microphone down too quickly because it's another question for you. You mentioned that SGA needs a website, but SGA already has a web page on Messiah's website. What are the specific goals you envision of an SGA website, and what specific information will be housed on this site?
I think because it's not specifically for SGA and its information and what we pertain to our mission statement. This is, I guess, club and engagement website. It's a centralized area where students would be able to basically Falcon link information about clubs and events. Rather than receiving a mass email, you'd be able to go onto this website and look up what events are going on, who's directing it, how much does it cost, what club do I have to get in contact, who do I have to email, as well as resources both academically, counseling. It's basically just a centralized location that everybody would have access to. SGA's Messiah website pertains to our mission, applications, who's the cabinet. So to think about this as SGA's website is not necessarily what I would pertain it to. I would rename it to say it's Student Engagement's website. It's an area where, for those people that say, oh, there's nothing going on this weekend, what am I supposed to do? It's happening, you're just not getting the information in a way that is accessible to you. So the idea of having this website is to make it easy and to make it accessible.
Wonderful, thank you. Now for both of you, in Morelli's application, she wrote that being president means bringing change and reconciliation in a manner that is respectfully unifying and not alienating. Gabrielle mentioned empowering different communities of students on campus. Can you please give us an example of one change SGA has made in the past 2 years that you view as unifying and one change that you view as alienating? Who did these decisions affect and empower? Please take all the time you need to think.
I'm going to start with unifying because I think we should start with the better note of the question.
Great!
For me, I think something that SGA was able to participate and be able to pass was the creation of the Caribbean Student Association. Yeah, shout out to them. So I think this was a beautiful part in being able to respect our Caribbean students, but also allow them to have a safe space on campus to celebrate culture and celebrate what it means to be Caribbean. And unifying in the sense that, hey, Catriel, that unification in the sense that we can have differences, but to stand together and recognize that this group of people needs a safe space is what SGA does. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are always going to see eye to eye, but it does mean that I'm going to respect you and be able to create a space for you.
And I'm assuming I get alienation. You're good, you're good. I think that is one of the beautiful things about using reflective practices as we continue to grow as a community. Reflecting on not only the past 2 years, specifically this past month, I think we've had to learn how to pivot as individuals and as leaders. And I think one thing that I think has alienated, or rather challenged us to continue to see anew and see individuals in our clubs and organizations for who they are and how they add and through finances. And I think that is also a part of our platform and how we seek to be sustainable. And we seek to not only manage our finances, but also store our money and how we're actually putting that into our practices and our programming effectively.
Great. Great answers and an even better question. Great work. Sorry, I wrote that one. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, for both of you, in your applications, you mentioned that one of the hurdles you will have to conquer will be making one-year changes in an environment that works 3 to 5 years ahead institutionally. What plans will you put into action now to be fully realized in the years following your term?
I don't think it's necessarily a challenge to have the 1 year timeline. I think it allows us to think ahead, and I think it allows us to plan effectively for the future and the next cabinet after us. I think one thing SGA has struggled with is transition materials, and I think when we're allowing ourselves to think that in 3 to 5 years we're going to have another cabinet and another cabinet, then we allow ourselves to, one, start writing what things functioned for SGA and what didn't function. And that means the next cabinet after me is going to be more effective. Not only that, the 3 to 5 year concept is something I learned this year, and that's why I think it's so important that you have experience in SGA, because you get to bring it. And plans that we want to establish currently that can happen within a year are things like our textbook scholarship, communicating with clubs about stewarding money well. These are different things that we can start thinking about now that can be implemented now.
We continue to not only evaluate how effective we are in our positions, but also how we can continue to build the student body by actually letting them know what SGA does and what actually SGA is able to do through their support. You support us by your student activity funds, yes, but also your support through engagement and communication with us, voicing your concerns, making sure that we are not only as representatives aware of what you want to see new, but also ways that you want to continue to grow as a community together. So at the heart of not only our platform, but us as individuals, we want to continue to grow together, and we want to continue to see how we can better our systems and our programmings, even as we advance for the future cabinets ahead.
Great work, great work. In case you don't know, looking out into the crowd, I seem to know pretty much all of you. I am a senior, but they are not. So this question is about that. As underclassmen, okay. As underclassmen, what unique perspectives do you have on student life, and how does that motivate your campaign and your platform?
I think as an underclassman, I think it is a part of my own growth and feeling connected to the student body here in my experience. I'm from Philadelphia, so if you're from Philadelphia, woohoo! Coming here and being able to be outside of my I want to say comfortability zone is something new. And that as freshmen, I think I have been able to not only embrace, but also encourage my friends to continue to see that as a challenge for growth. We are not only believers in change, but also builders of change. So I think as a freshman, we should even be more encouraged to be a part of the conversation. No position should just be for, I think, one group in case if it's not only for responsibility or other concerns, but I think we should constantly be encouraging our students, and especially our undergrad men, to rise to the occasion and to rise to their ability to not only be leaders, but also advocates for each other, and to speak on the concerns and the issues that may be arising even right then. How else are we going to know how we continue to grow for the future? And how else are we going to be able to prepare for our students to come?
To add to that, as underclassmen, we also have the ability to envision what we're going to do long term. So I have 2 more years here, and I can think about, okay, so my year in presidency, what is that going to do, and how's that going to affect my last year at Messiah? So your ability to come in with not only new ideas and new perspectives, because this is your first time at Messiah, start learning what Messiah is, what is Messiah culture, but you're also being able to have the foresight to think about the future. And I think as underclassmen, you have those unique perspectives.
Wonderful. And moving on to our final question of phase 1, again for the team on the right. One of the things that Urelis mentioned in her application and again in these questions and answers was legal counsel for international students. You mentioned Kent State and their model for doing this. Whom specifically on campus will you consult to create this opportunity?
I think there are multiple people that need to be involved in that conversation, not only because it pertains to now having somebody else on the payroll, because now you have HR involved, but you have people like our VP of Student Engagement and Success, our provost, and that wisdom that comes from that, and the idea that we have people in administration, such as KP, who's here in the audience, to give advice and to give their wisdom about how this can be done. Now, this conversation hasn't been started because I didn't want to be premature in the idea of looking to administration and taking that time out of their busy schedules. But on campus, I know we have administration that's more than willing to sit down and have that conversation, whether that's with HR, whether that is with the vice provost. There are plenty of people on campus willing to start that conversation.
And just to support everything that Malaysia just said, I think we have not only the ability and the access to create conversations that are going to continue to help us build and see into what Leadership Council is able to do even on campus, but also as a unit together, seeing that we have a concern and a calling to not only represent one half of our student body, but also our international students and our students that are going to be graduating. It's important that we position them and see out to the future on how we can help them become individuals in society, prepared and ready to go for,
And we also have to consider how the Miss office can be involved. We have a whole office dedicated to helping these international students. That means also pairing with people like Sharice Daniels and Amy Nick have their advice as well.
Great, thank you. Now we're going to transition into the intermission because my dogs are barking and I gotta get these shoes off. That one's just for you. That actually isn't part of the debate. I just chose the wrong shoes today, and that's on me. After we come back, we're going to enter into phase 2, which is a more structured debate, and we're going to hear some rebuttals and some questions that we provided to both teams ahead of time to hear exactly what they have to say. I'll see you shortly in a new pair of shoes. Oh, thanks for giving me that little break there to change my shoes and get some Gatorade. Thanks for that. After this debate portion, there will be a portion for you to ask questions directly to the candidates. The way that this is going, it seems like we might run a little bit over 9 p.m., but that's okay because the University. Yeah. That didn't get quite as much applause as I hoped, but you know what? We'll do better next time. We will do better next time. These questions have been given to our teams in advance, so they should be fully prepped. They will each have time to not only respond, but also give a rebuttal. So, let's go with, is it 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay, last minute changes. Number 1, and if you would like to go first, please just raise your hand, and then I will motion to you, a la Vera White. Why is your campaign platform more relevant than your opponent's? A little late on that one.
Is it okay if I go first?
No.
Our campaign and our platform is Arise, and it's this idea that we're going to hit as many areas of campus life as we can, and more importantly, that it's done through measurable and achievable goals. This is not to say that their platform can't do that. I just think that our platform is more encompassing, and the fact that it is not just about one group of students or one idea. Arise is this idea that we are going to provide post-grad opportunities. It's an idea that we're going to connect with everybody on campus and provide not only a space for students to feel safe and speak, but that our cabinet as a whole is going to work to reach students. And through these 5 achievable stances and elements on campus, we get to not only conversate with administration, but we get to create a network with different people and personnel on campus to achieve them. And it's this idea of being able to equip the average student to overcome any obstacle on campus. And I think that that's what SGA symbolizes. It's not only a bridge, but it's the ability to have anybody in this arena, anybody in this crowd, to stand up to become a student leader, to graduate, to overcome any challenge because you felt not only infused and empowered by confidence, but that you know that you have an association to rely on to give you those things, to give you the self-confidence, to give you the tools, to show you what it means to be a student leader. And that's why Arise is to see this campus anew, to see everything in a different light, in a different perspective.
Passing it over for a rebuttal.
Yeah, I appreciated what you brought to the table, and I heard you mention both how you believe yours are achievable, and as well, and so my question then is, why would you believe ours are unachievable? Yeah.
Feel free.
In light of that conversation, I did state that yours were achievable, and the fact that they are taking different situations on campuses, different challenges, and seeing them in a different light. It's not that you can't achieve them. It's that the experience that at least I've had on SGA as a full year now has allowed me to know exactly what we have to do, what conversations have to be had, and what a realistic expectation looks like. And it's not to discredit you being on cabinet now, no, because I respect and I value everything you do. But it is to say that given the year of experience I've had and about 5 months of being president I've had, I know exactly what has to be done and what looks like realistic.
Okay, now we'll throw it over to the other team to answer the question as well, and for another rebuttal. Go ahead. Restate the question. Why is your campaign's platform more relevant than your opponent's?
I want to start off by saying I don't necessarily think our platform is more relevant. I believe that both campaigns have very similar goals. We just have very different objectives and missions for achieving these campaign objectives. And I believe that, as mentioned, we have achievable goals in mind, and we've actually already implemented these conversations for these resources. As mentioned, we've met with Lindsay Grimm in Residence Life, Bryce Wickard with Safety, as well as Cynthia Kearns with Information Technology Services. So we've already started these conversations. So in terms of relevancy of the campaign, with the transition would be smooth, and these conversations are achievable, goals are in mind, and conversations have started, and we have had the confirmation that all of these goals that we want to implement are completely sustainable towards this campus and can be done.
And I think going off of that, it's just the idea that a lot of these goals that we're trying to achieve can all be accomplished through the resources that are already provided here with Messiah. So I think in that, because of COVID, we've had this disconnect with the resources. We're not aware of them. So it comes back to, finding out what those resources are, which we've already started that journey, and just coming back to and using those resources to solve the issues that we currently have.
All right, now time for a rebuttal.
I think one critique I would have, and it's one thing I've noticed repeatedly, is now that one of your measurable actions to complete a goal is to have a Canvas page. We currently have a Canvas page that is established for our student leaders and student senate, as well as our diplomatic corps. And through this Canvas page, I can see what the average time of a student looks like on there. And the average is 20 to 30 minutes. To be effective, it would not be to have another Canvas page where all students could look at it, because we already struggle with having to look at Canvas for academic needs. To have another Canvas section that would now be for SGA would be ineffective, because the average time for student leaders to look at the Canvas page, which I update every Monday, is just not used enough to be used as a resource.
I agree. I think that with this Canvas opportunity in mind, there is the obvious known that not everyone would use this, and that even like your classes and like we have like residence life pages, they're probably not every student takes advantage of this resource. But given this in mind, the aspect of having this opportunity for students, the idea is to engage all of campus, not just clubs and organizations. I like being a part of a club with marketing club. I can see like what you're talking about with student senate and everything, but that's sectioning off campus. With ideas of reconnection, having a Canvas page for everyone, and it's not just student government links, it would also be just basic resources on Canvas for starting conversations and everything, but it's the idea of the whole body, the whole student body, not just people involved in clubs.
Oh, just kidding. The question's over. Question number 2. How do you plan to promote SGA as an organization and its resources to the student body other than an SGA website and other than an SGA Canvas page?
First, I think we plan to promote SGA not only as an organization, but really restructure and re-promote how we are even talking about SGA, the Student Body Government Association. I think a part of us build is seeing that true change doesn't start with just believing in it, but also being builders of it. So the SGA organization is now structured to not only represent the student body, but also through VPs and different parts of our organization, student senators, student senate, that we are able to connect with the student body. I believe that using SGA as a mouthpiece, as a representative for not only the resources we have on campus, but the opportunity that students have just to come up and engage us, that we are welcoming, that we are seeking to not only connect the student body with their resources that are there, but also how we can continue to strengthen and grow the student body together. This also looks like, again, as Morales had mentioned, our textbook scholarship opportunity that we would love to establish and continue to be in conversations and investigate for our student body. This also means that we want to continue to grow in relationships with our res life and continue to have SGA be a representative for all of our individuals on campus. This also means we're looking towards the future and seeing how we can connect with the first years, the freshmen that are coming in that are not so sure. I know for me, I heard many times that from freshmen and my peers that they didn't know what SGA was after the first day or after that first interaction. So I think rebuilding that and revamping even how we are engaging our students is very important in how we promote.
Thank you. A rebuttal.
I see where you are coming from, and I think it has a good point to it. I think my biggest concern is in the process of doing so, people are more worried about than the resource that is being given to them, that they forget the process of SGA, which is why we're here, and we limit them then to just that one specific resources, and they're not aware of the rest. When it comes to meeting with residence life and partnering with them, I know you all had mentioned all-hall meetings, and I'm kind of curious, because as a former RA and as a current student, I know that these all-hall meetings happen late nights of the hours, and a lot of the time students are rushing to, after this, to go to their exam, to study for their exam, or continue to prepare for their night before. And one of my concerns is that this can cause more of a disconnect if the SGA cabinet is making this extend longer than building that bridge.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The idea of us coming to an all-hall meeting is a flexible one. And to say that students are rushing from one meeting to another is important. It's important to be recognized. However, if we're saying that students are not able to connect with us and we're giving them an opportunity to, then that leaves us in a limbo of how much are we going to put forward and how much are we going to sacrifice of our own time, and students are not going to take the initiative to then reciprocate that. KP came to Bittner's first floor and was able to have a pizza party, and most students came.
Thank you. Now switching sides. The question is, how do you plan to promote SGA as an organization and its resources to the student body beyond an SGA website and beyond an SGA Canvas page?
Yeah, so going off of the ideas of like residence life and like partnering with that, I know Gabby mentioned, I believe it was you, with the idea that fostering that connection within the first few days is important. And we've also had conversations about that. And something that started like our freshman year actually was Becoming You. And that's like mandatory for all first years. I think it's like 8 weeks. And it's the kind of like, it's like your first year hall and then like usually 2 faculty members and everything, but we think taking advantage of that opportunity and fostering relationships with student leaders on campus and SGA representatives so that there's that immediate student connection. You can see a familiar face on campus. Obviously, faculty is just as important, but obviously students are more approachable. You might see them like in your class or something, and that aspect of that immediate connection and connecting within that community and promoting SGA just right off the bat so that as you further your journey within Messiah, it's well known and you know who to go to and what resources are available to you.
And I think even going alongside of that is just the idea of you get free chapel credit in the process of doing so. So not only do you get the privilege or the chance to like speak and just converse with one another and get to know your fellow peers, your possible future SGA cabinet members, but it's also just the idea of like, oh, they're human like me. We can get to know each other, and I get chapel credit for it too.
Great, thank you. Time for a rebuttal.
I love the idea of integrating SGA into becoming you. My one concern is that as SGA cabinet members and a student, the transition into both positions in the beginning year is overwhelming. And I say that because I experienced that my first week as a vice president and then as a student. So you're trying to struggle, you're struggling with, being a student, and then you have student leadership, which you have your office hours, you have your meetings, you have preparation for Senate. It doesn't seem realistic to have becoming you as another task for your cabinet members. I would suggest rather a 4x4. It's less time on your cabinet members, but then you also have a smaller space for it to be more intimate, to learn more about students, and students to learn more about you while doing devotion.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I think our intention in doing so, it's more to bring that human and that fellow peer aspect of things. It's just addressing the fact that, hey, we are here to serve you, and we might not have every answer right now, but we will find out those answers for you. As well as we are now going through finishing our third year of here at Messiah. We have the privilege of being involved in different aspects of campus. So it's just bringing those perspectives as well to the table.
Wonderful. Moving on to question 3. Both of your platforms are heavily influenced by the spoken or unspoken idea of a pre-COVID campus. Given that none of you were on campus pre-COVID, what does this mean to you?
Emily, you make a really good point. But although I was not a student during my time before COVID occurred, I was a brother to 2 older sisters who both came here. And because of that, during my high school days, I would often come here and experience the Messiah culture, experience the Messiah family that sense of togetherness, which then when I came here to Messiah, I stopped feeling. And because of that, I was able to get a glimpse of what that felt like, and because of that, we are motivated to want to bring that back, whether that's from a new perspective or even from what was seen before.
Yeah, I agree. I personally don't have that family connection to bring into this perspective, but I do remember touring at Messiah pre-COVID, and that the engagement was just so natural, and everyone kind of just knew everything that was going on. It was just so natural to just connect with everyone. This club was this club was that, and there was no disconnection or questioning of how everything kind of interacted with each other or played a role on this campus. And coming in as first years during 2020, so kind of the during COVID era, I guess, it was very evident that this obviously was taken away, because there was the inhumane aspect to society. The whole world was separated. But now that we've learned to cope with all of this through coping as a society and bringing back, we can be together in a room again and everything like that, I see that the engagement is coming back. I think it's not as natural, it's not as informed. I think our class suffered in the aspect of awareness, and getting involved, it takes a lot more effort, which is, I think both of our campaigns have the platform of engagement, of reconnection, which shows the emphasis of how important this is to the student body. So I saw how natural it was to be involved when touring and hearing about Messiah, and now that I'm here, I do see that engagement and connection coming back. I do recognize that it's not as natural, and I think that emphasis on togetherness and family is so important right now.
A rebuttal.
Actually bring up 2 big points. It's the idea that we get to have the perspective of not only individuals who are outside of Messiah, but also were impacted by the effects of COVID-19. And that does not deplete or take away from our own ability to address issues here. We not only in our platform want to see what has happened in the past, but also seek to the future. We're not going just back, we're going upward and forward.
Great. Now switching sides. Both of your platforms are heavily influenced by the spoken or unspoken idea of a pre-COVID campus. Given that none of you were on campus pre-COVID, what does this mean to you?
Not being here on campus pre-COVID doesn't mean that you don't talk to seniors here on campus who have gone through the pre-COVID Messiah. Seeing as though I work with somebody who's a senior and is in consistent conversation with Pauline, I get to hear about stories of what it was like to see Messiah both transitioning into an era of COVID, but more than that, hearing about traditions that used to be alive. And it takes away from the fact that there was a culture at Messiah it's still here. It's the foundation of what community looks like. And it's of us wanting to build on top of that. I think there's a misconception of us wanting to be what Messiah was pre-COVID. We don't want to be pre-COVID Messiah. We want to be better than that. We want to not only use the bones that have already been laid, but we want to use everybody's perspectives. That means speaking to upperclassmen to see what Messiah looked pre-COVID. Maybe that means talking to alumni and seeing what their experience looks like. But it's not the idea of wanting to go backward. It's wanting to use the foundation that's already here to better Messiah.
All right, a rebuttal?
I think you make a very good point, and that's why I stated when we answered this question that it's the idea of taking in the good, leaving the bad, and then seeing what we can bring to the table with a new perspective. The student body is constantly changing, and we recognize that, and we want to work with that.
Wonderful, thank you. Now let's pivot away from all this pre-COVID talk because it makes me feel old. Question number 4. Thank you. Oh, no, I'm not here all night. I need to go to bed. Thank you. How do you plan to involve students who may not be interested in traditional forms of campus engagement, such as the current clubs and organizations?
Okay, I can go. So, as the vice president of organization now, I get to see into not only how the student body clubs and organizations are working, but how students are actually being able to engage with it. Primarily through monthly reports, club budgeting, all of those little in-between things that are inside my position, I get to see a little bit further into how students actually are able to get involved. With that being said, I think heading into our election, I think we want to be able to connect students with the resources and the ability to do so, which is why we're building off of the SGA idea of a general space, not only just emails, which we know sometimes the medium outweighs the mode of the message. We want to connect the student body with not only social media platforms, but also understanding information that is going to be clear to them and comprehensive. We want to make sure that our ideas and our thoughts as a committee, as a club together, are clear for the student body. I also believe that we want to connect our resources and our organizations with clubs directly, and we want to make sure that our students know that they're welcome in the spaces that are created for them, and that we are always open to build and continue to explore ways to continue to better it.
Thank you. A rebuttal?
I agree with a lot of what you said in terms of campus engagement in traditional forms, but I think that something that is really important to us and with engaging the student body, and something that I don't believe you touched on, is empowering the student body and just being like an advocate and just a listening ear. So if you wouldn't mind touching on that and how that works into your campaign.
That is the heart of our campaign. I think Arise in itself is uplifting and empowering MU, Messiah University, to see how we can continue to see anew and continue to build together in community. Arise is allowing us to see activated and continue to think obtainable and sustainable ways to continue to grow together. So we want to make sure our goals are be able to reach, to be able to obtain, to be able to be understood, and be able to appreciate it. We want our student body to know that we're not only seeking to continue to build as SGA in our own little island, in our own little bubble over here, but we are directly connected to our organizations. We're directly connected to our student body. We are directly connected to the people, the individuals that we get to impact and we care for. So I think empowering students is at the core. I think we encourage you to continue to ask. Even beyond debate night, I want you to go and approach one of us and say, hey, I heard what you were saying. I heard how enthusiastic you were about it, and I want to know more. That is our whole job. That is our purpose, not only to encourage our student body to be a part of SGA, but also to be a part of how we are moving and growing forward together.
Thank you. Now, switching sides, what specific, no, that's not the question I wanted. Thank you. Okay, how do you plan to involve students who may not be interested in traditional forms of campus engagement, such as the current clubs and organizations?
Yeah, so I think kind of like with what we just mentioned, the idea of empowerment, and if you are not interested in a traditional form and you want to see a change, like come be that change. Like the SGA office is open, like that's what like this is, like a voice for the student body. Like if you want to see that, we will help empower you. We will help direct you to those resources. We want that for you. And it kind of goes along with that question that was mentioned earlier, like if we don't like agree with something, like how would that like work out, and like what would that mean? It's kind of like if we don't see if there is a change, but like if that is necessary, but you see that like that is the whole point. Like SGA is that link, and we want to become that and have that for you and help direct you to exactly what is needed and connect you to like also already existing platforms, which is the idea of like using Canvas into our campaign and things that already exist that you might not be aware of that can help support you.
And I think Ashley said that very beautifully. And I think going off of that, it's also the idea of we are just two individuals who have very specific upbringings, and because of that, we're going to have specific mindsets, biases. I've mentioned this before. So it's the idea of like, since I'm not involved with that, I don't know like there's a need for that. But if you see there's a need for that, that's why we're here. And that's why we want to work with you to bring that need. At the end of the day, we can only do so much because we are here as a team to work together. So if you want to see something happen, if you want to see a change happen, come talk to us and we can make that change happen together, not as just us two.
Thank you. A rebuttal?
I think what they have stated in their foundation is very true. We need to make sure our communication and our engagement with the student body is our foundation. But I think something else regarding your upbringing and your background, I think above everything else, don't let that limit the power that you can have. I think what we have decided to bring, along with our perspectives, along with our backgrounds, is the idea that no matter what spaces we enter in, not only are we going to be impacted, but we get to impact also. And I think you stated something very important, that in order to grow, we also need to be able to listen to others. And we need to listen to the people who we may not be able to be aware of. So that is something that I think needs to be continued at the forefront of it all.
I think when saying this, my intent was not to belittle my specific upbringing, but it was to address the fact that I don't have the same desires as somebody else, and I don't have the same interests as somebody else, so I don't know what their needs are. And maybe I don't know that people group's specific needs. So I'm just coming from a point of, hey, I am not aware because I am not you, but tell me more about you so we can figure it out.
Thank you. This concludes phase 2 of our debate. The next section, phase 3, will be taking about a 5-minute break. There will be a code for Sildu up on the screen. Please ask Slido? Slido? Okay, Slido up on the screen. Please use that code and ask questions. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, and will be picking 3 questions to ask our lovely pairs. So I'll see you in a second. Enjoy the break.